Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Many hellos, many hellos. Wow. That is my surprise noise. My surprise noise is wah. My surprise noise is wah at seeing that Discord has officially decided that I am actually streaming. Surprise noise approved. Thank you. Thank you. Wah. Yes, wah. Oh, I gotta just, hold on, I gotta type a reminder real quick for myself. Add points. I also figured out how to set prediction stuff. I think I figured out how to set up prediction stuff. Let me see. How do I think it's like slash predictions or something. Oh, I can't type. Let's see. What does it do? Ah! Okay. Yeah, so predictions are a thing now. By the way. I've had it set up for a few days, but I keep forgetting to mention it. I keep forgetting to mention that predictions exist. It's surprisingly, it's a lot different than I thought it would be. And unfortunately, it's a moderator only sort of thing. And of course, there are only two moderators on my stream. Me and Nightbot. Me and Nightbot are the only two moderators. So, you know, it's a bit of a meme. But, yeah, predictions exist now. I'll try to remind people every now and then. If you guys want me to set up a prediction, I can. I'll also set up the Nightbot command later to as a sort of thing. What do they do? It's like a well, it's as it suggests. You guys suggest a prediction. So the prediction could be something like, well, since we're mostly a WoW stream, the prediction could be something like, will the raid clear in one night? And then so the first outcome would be yes. So the first option would be yes, the raid will clear Nax in one night. And the second outcome will be no, the raid won't clear Nax in one night. And people basically bet their points, and then whoever wins gets to get extra points. So it's basically like a betting pool. It's a betting pool, essentially is what it is. So it works for anything. If you guys want me to set up any predictions, just let me know, and I will. Hello. Good evening, good morning, etc. Good morning to you, sis. That's cool. It is. I've seen I'm trying to remember names. Oh, I've seen one Super Mario Maker streamer use it, and I've seen a different VTuber, Sakiomi, use it for Genshin. So it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. So just let me know if you guys want me to set any sort of prediction. And I will once I see you guys asking for it. So feel free to ask whenever. Like I said, it doesn't require any money. It does require channel points though. So, interesting. It is interesting. It is. Anyways. We have 4 planned stories tonight. Only 4 planned stories. The stream will be lasting about 2.5 hours. It was originally going to be 2 hours, but because I got sick last night, I had to end the stream So instead, I'll be streaming for 2.5 hours. Hopefully, my internet doesn't hiccup for a second and we have a very smooth stream. But that's the plan. That's the plan. That's the plan. But yes, 4 stories planned. And then I have 14 backup stories if I don't, if the 4 stories are too quick. So I have plenty of stuff to read. Plenty of stuff for you guys to relax to. I hope everyone has a good time, like always. Holy heck, yes. Yes, yes, yes. 4 planned, 14 backup. We'll see how it goes. It took us 3.5 hours for 9 stories yesterday. So I suspect that I'll have to use at least a couple of the backup stories. So we shall see. I also have 2 hot drinks prepared. I made myself a chai latte because I was very sleepy right before, like right at 1, it's 2 a.m. for me. So I was really sleepy right at 1 a.m. And I was like, I gotta stay awake for this. People aren't gonna want me to fall asleep during my own reading. Hope my throat holds up out better tonight. Me too. Me too. We shall see. There's a prediction. Will we get to read backup stories? I can set up that then. We set up a prediction. Well, oh, I can't spell. Will backup of stories be read? Outcome 1. Yes, they will be. No, they won't be. How long can I set the submission period? Oh, okay. I will start the prediction then. Submission period is half an hour because that's as long as I can set up the submission period. That's as long as I can set it up. Come on. What? I see. Okay. That's weird. But okay. Anyways, the prediction is set up. Have fun, guys. Have fun. Yep. Let me see. Can I predict as well? I can't predict on my own stuff, unfortunately. I can't predict on my own. Feels bad. I can't cast my own vote. Anyways. I shall read the first story. The first story is called The Wicked Prince, as the title suggests on top of the chat box. As the title suggests. The first story is The Wicked Prince. It's not a bad story. It's not like a sad story. It's not a bad story. It's just, another one of those stories. Sounds wicked. Ha. Yes. Basically, he gets a little too cocky. He gets a little too arrogant and gets wrecked. That is the moral of the story. The moral of the story is gonna be, don't get overzealous with your power, I suppose. That is the story. Oh, the moral of the story. Anyways, are you guys ready for me to read the story to you? Say yes or say no. Yes or no. Or do you guys want me to just chat randomly? Ready? Okay, I'll take a drink then. You ready for sure? Okay. Heck yes, let's go. The Wicked Prince. There lived once upon a time a wicked prince whose heart and mind were set upon conquering all the countries of the world and on fighting their people. He devastated their countries with fire and sword, and his soldiers trod down the crops in the fields and destroyed the peasants' huts by fire, so the flames licked the green leaves off the branches, and the fruit hung dried up on the singed black trees. Many a poor mother fled, her naked baby in her arms, behind the still smoking walls of her cottage. But also there the soldiers followed her, and when they found her, she served as new nourishment to their diabolical enjoyments, demons could not possibly have done worse things than these soldiers. The prince was of opinion that all this was right, and that it was only the natural course which things ought to take. His power increased day by day, his name was feared by all, and fortune favored his deeds. He brought enormous wealth home from the conquered towns, and gradually accumulated in his residence riches which could nowhere be equaled. He erected magnificent palaces, churches, and halls, and all who saw these splendid buildings and great treasures exclaimed admiringly, "What a mighty prince!" For they did not know what endless misery he had brought upon other countries, nor did they hear the sighs and lamentations which rose up from the debris of the destroyed cities. The prince often looked with delight upon his gold and his magnificent edifices. Is it edifices? I'm not sure. And thought, like the crowd, "What a mighty prince!" Let me reread that. "What a mighty prince, but I must have more, much more. No power on earth must equal mine, for far less exceed it." He made war with all his neighbors, and defeated them. The conquered kings were chained up with golden fetters to his chariot when he drove through the streets of his city. These kings had to kneel at his and his courtiers' feet when they set the table, and live on the morsels which they left. At last the prince had his own statue erected on the public places, and fixed on the royal palaces. Nay, he even wished it to be placed in the churches, on the altars. But in this the priests opposed him, saying, "Prince, you are mighty indeed, but God's power is much greater than yours. We dare not obey your orders." "Well," said the prince, "then I will conquer God too." And in his haughtiness and foolish presumption, he ordered a magnificent ship to be constructed, with which he could sail through the air. It was gorgeously fitted out and of many colors. Like the tail of a peacock, it was covered with thousands of eyes, but each eye was the barrel of a gun. The prince sat in the center of the ship, and had only to touch a spring in order to make thousands of bullets fly out in all directions, while the guns were at once loaded again. Hundreds of eagles were attached to the ship, and it rose with the swiftness of an arrow up towards the sun. The earth was soon left far below, and looked, with its mountains and woods, like a cornfield where the plow had made furrows which separated green meadows. Soon it looked only like a map with indistinct lines upon it, and at last it entirely disappeared in mists and clouds. I just saw something. Higher and higher rose the eagles up into the air. Then God sent one of his numberless angels against the ship. The wicked prince showered thousands of bullets upon him, but they rebounded from his shining wings, and fell down like ordinary hailstones. One drop of blood, one single drop, came out of the white feathers of the angel's wings, and fell upon the ship in which the prince sat, burnt into it, and weighted down upon it like thousands of hundredweights. Dragging it rapidly down to the earth again, the strong wings of the eagles gave way, the wind roared round the prince's head, and the clouds around, where they formed by the smoke rising up from the burnt cities, took strange shapes, like crabs many, many miles long, which stretched their claws out after him, and rose up like enormous rocks, from which rolling masses dashed down, became fire-spitting dragons. The prince was lying half dead in his ship, when it sank at last with a terrible shock into the branches of a large tree in the wood. "I will conquer God," said the prince. "I have sworn it. My will must be done." And he spent 7 years in the construction of wonderful ships to sail through the air, and had darts cast from the hardest steel to break the walls of heaven with. He gathered warriors from all countries, so many that when they were placed side by side, they covered a space of several miles. They entered the ships, and the prince was approaching his own, when God sent a swarm of gnats, one swarm of little gnats. They buzzed round the prince and stung his face and hands. Angrily, he drew his sword and brandished it, but he only touched the air and did not hit the gnats. Then he ordered his servants to bring costly coverings and wrap him in them, that the gnats might no longer be able to reach him. The servants carried out his orders, but one single gnat had placed itself inside one of the coverings, crept into the prince's ear, and stung him. The place burnt like fire, and the prince's ear, the place burned like fire, and the poison entered into his blood. Mad with pain, he tore off the coverings on his clothes too, flinging them far away, and danced about before the eyes of his ferocious soldiers, who now mocked him, the mad prince, who wished to make war with God and was overcome by a single little gnat. Dun dun dun, story end. That is the end of the first story. Poison bad? He kinda deserved it though. He kinda deserved it. He was busy beating up people and conquering them, and etc, etc. So, it's not like it wasn't entirely deserved. Want to be no soapy boy? Yeah, he did. He did. Indeed. Indeed. Easy points? A little bit. A little bit. There's little easy points, but doesn't hurt to try anyways. Welcome to Chill Fairy Tale Night? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to story time. Story time, story time, story time. Hello. Hello. Hello to you, Nim. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. With that one little gnat? Absolutely. Gnats are very annoying. I can't entirely blame him, but, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. How's everyone doing? I'm doing really, really good so far. Doing good. My throat's doing good, except I really need another drink, but it's doing good. Having a good night. We just finished the first story. So we're having fun so far, I'm hoping. Having fun so far. I'm going to change the title now. The buckwheat. I can't say it. Ah! There you go. There you go. Eating some noodles and listening to good stories? Yes. Food is good. Food is very good. Very, very good. Oh. Did not mean to move that. Food is incredibly good. Incredibly good. Oh! Why did that go all the way down there? Hello? Why did you move? Oh! I just moved myself. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Align it. Okay, there you go. There you go. You'll see? That's very nice of you. That's very nice of you. Yeah, how are you doing, Nim? How are you doing? Are you doing okay? Don't go whooshing around. Sorry, I didn't mean to move myself. It was an accident. I was trying to change the title. The story list. I was trying to change the story list and kind of flew off. I kind of went flying. Your faith on the other side. Dungeon is restored. You had fun playing it? That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm very glad to hear that. I really suck at playing at the final boss of the other side. The other side, rather. But I'm glad that you had a good time. I always end up dying to the final boss. I'll forget to go through the portal and get smacked. Nice, nice. Yes, indeed. Your friends and you almost timed it on 8. I assume you mean Mythic 8. I assume you mean Mythic plus 8. You feel that? Yep. Yep. Brain bad. I space out way too easily and end up dying every single time. I think I've like successfully lived through that like twice. Maybe twice is when I've successfully lived through that. So today you'd always die in the first shatter? Same. I would die in the first shatter and then go, what? And then remember that, oh yeah, that's right. I have to go through stuff, otherwise I get wrecked. You didn't die to it once on your plus 8. That's good. That's good. Congrats, congrats, congrats. I'm really glad to hear that. Congrats. Congrats, congrats, congrats. Anyways, the next story we have is called the Buckwheat. Next story we have is called the Buckwheat. It's about a very proud plant who ends up being very, very wrong. As you guys will see. Very proud plant. Very much a wrecked plant. I want to move my light box a little bit. There you go. But yes, you guys will see. You guys will see. Let me get all this story again. Okay, wait, I thought I already clicked on it. Where is it? Ah, no. Red plant? Yes, red plant. You guys ready for the next story? You guys ready? You guys good? Hmm? Hmm? Yep, you ready? Okay, I will start then. The buckwheat. Very often, after a violent thunderstorm, a field of buckwheat appears blackened and singed, as if a flame of fire had passed over it. The country people say that this appearance is caused by lightning, but I will tell you what the sparrow says. And the sparrow heard it from an old willow tree, which grew near a field of buckwheat, and is there still. It is a large, venerable tree, though a little crippled by age. The trunk has been split, and out of the crevice grass and branches grow. Brambles, not branches, sorry. Brambles grow. The tree bends forward slightly, and the branches hang down quite low to the ground, just like green hair. Corn grows out in the surrounding fields, not only rye and barley, but oats. Pretty oats that, when ripe, look like a number of little golden canary birds sitting on a bough. The corn has a smiling look, and the heaviest and richest ears bend their heads low as if in pious humility. Once there was also a field of buckwheat, and this field was exactly opposite to old willow tree. The buckwheat did not bend like the other grain, but erected its head proudly and stiffly on the stem. I am as valuable as any other corn, said he, and I am much handsomer. My flowers are as beautiful as the bloom of the apple blossom, and it is a pleasure to look at us. Do you know of anything prettier than we are, you old tree? And the willow tree nodded his head, as if he would say, Indeed I do. But the buckwheat spread itself out with pride and said, Stupid tree, he is old, so old that grass grows out of his body. There arose a very terrible storm. All the field flowers folded their leaves together, or bowed their little heads while the storm passed over them, but the buckwheat stood erect in its pride. Bend your head as we do, said the flowers. I have no occasion to do so, replied the buckwheat. Bend your head as we do, cried the ears of corn. The angel of the storm is coming. His wings spread from the sky above to the earth beneath. He will strike you down before you can cry for mercy. But I will not bend my head, said the buckwheat. Close your eyes, close your flowers, and bend your leaves, said the old willow tree. Do not look up at the lightning when the cloud bursts. Even men cannot do that. In a flash of lightning, heaven opens, and we can look in. The sight will strike even human beings blind. What then must happen to us who only grow of the earth, and are so inferior to them if we venture to do so? Inferior indeed, said the buckwheat. Now I intend to have a peep into heaven. Proudly and boldly he looked up, while the lightning flashed across the sky as if the whole world were in flames. When the dreadful storm had passed, the flowers and the corn raised their drooping heads in the pure still air, refreshed by the rain, but the buckwheat lay like a weed in the field, burnt to blackness by the lightning. The branches of the old willow tree rustled in the wind, and large water drops fell from his green leaves, as if the old willow tree were weeping. Then the sparrows asked why he was weeping, when all around him seemed so cheerful. See, they said, how the sun shines and the clouds float in the blue sky. Do you not smell the sweet perfume from flower and bush? Wherefore you weep, old willow tree? Then the willow told them of the haughty pride of the buckwheat, and of the punishment which followed in consequence. This is the story told me by the sparrows one evening, when I begged them to relate some tale to me. Story end. Story end. You can barely run +5s. I don't think I've ever done a mythic plus on retail. I don't think I've done a mythic at all on retail since this expansion. I used to run mythics, but not anymore. Not anymore. Don't do them quite as much anymore, unfortunately. I don't have as much time for them. But they are fun. They are fun. Cute birdies? Absolutely. Absolutely. Arrogant plans? Yep. Yep. So as I said, they got wrecked. They got wrecked. Lesson learning plans? Yep. 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 Yeah. Absolutely. They are... Hey! Thank you for the follow, Fairy Mantis. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome. I hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening so far. And thank you. Yes, new person, new person, new person. Feels good. Feels good. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? You doing good, Fairy? Actually, I'm gonna call you Mantis if you don't mind. Are you doing good, Mantis? You doing good? I hope you are. I hope you are. Thank you for following. But yes, that was the Buckwheat. As you guys can see, we are already halfway through the stories. We are already halfway through the planned stories. But you never know, maybe one story could take an hour and a half. Because I mean, one time I read The Little Mermaid and that took like 2 hours to read. Oops. Oh, not bull. There you go. So you guys could still be wrong. You guys could still be wrong. What's wrong, Mantis? You okay? Are you good? Those don't look like good faces. Are you sleepy? What's wrong? What happened? Kick? Yes, kick. It doesn't look very good for you, Sky. The outcome does not look very good for you so far, unfortunately. It's not looking very good. But I believe in you. I think you still have a chance. I think you still have a chance. I would bet myself, but I can't. I would put myself in the second category, but I literally can't. Your dog passed away on your birthday on March 4th. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How long? Well, actually, it doesn't really matter how long ago that was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's it. I'd say happy birthday, but that's not a very happy birthday. So, I hope that your dog at least passed away peacefully. I hope that you will feel a little better as I read to you and everyone else. I hope so. I'm sorry. I hope that, your grieving will not be too hard on you as time goes on. I'm sorry. Take your time to feel better though. I know it's rough. I know it's rough. You're free to cry about it. If anyone gets mad at you for crying, don't listen to them. They're just wrong. They're scared of their own weakness. So it's okay to cry about it. It's okay. No one who's a nice person will ever judge you. So, take your time. We'll be here, at least for the rest of the night. And we'll do our best to cheer you up. Okay? Okay. I am gonna continue with the third story. Okay, guys? I'm gonna continue with the third story. The third story is the top and ball. I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh, yes. The third story is the top and ball. The moral behind it is that things often look better than they seem when you cannot have them for yourselves. So when like that feeling of longing for something for so long and then being disappointed when you get it, or like not being able to get it, and then later realizing that it wasn't as good as it seemed. That is the story. That is the story. So you guys will see how it goes. I'll take a drink and then I'll start reading if you guys are ready for me to begin reading. Oh my gosh, my drinks are cold. I took a drink and my latte was cold. My latte was very cold. Once I finish this story, I'm probably gonna go heat it up for like a minute. It isn't quite ice cold, but it's definitely chillier than my mouth, let's say. It's definitely chillier than my mouth. Good idea? Yeah. I've got like a fifth of the cup left. So I don't want to waste it. Anyways. The third story. The top and ball. A whipping top and a little ball lay together in a box, among other toys. And the top said to the ball,
"Shall we be married, as we live in the same box?"
But the ball, which wore a dress of Morocco leather, and thought as much of herself as any other young lady, would not even condescend to reply. The next day came the little boy to whom the playthings belonged, and he painted the top red and yellow, and drove a brass-headed nail into the middle, so that while the top was spinning round, it looked splendid.
"Look at me,"
said the top to the ball.
"What do you say now? Shall we be engaged to each other? We should suit so well. You spring, and I dance. No one could be happier than we should be."
"Indeed, do you think so? Perhaps you do not know that my father and mother wore Morocco slippers, and that I have a Spanish cork in my body."
"Yes, but I am made of mahogany,"
said the top.
"The major himself turned me. He has a turning lathe of his own, and it is a great amusement to him."
"Can I believe it?"
asked the ball.
"May I never be whipped again,"
said the top,
"if I am not telling you the truth."
"You certainly know how to speak for yourself very well,"
said the ball.
"But I cannot accept your proposal. I am almost engaged to a swallow. Every time I fly up in the air, he puts his head out of the nest, and says, 'Will you?' And I have said yes to myself silently, and that is as good as being half engaged, but I will promise never to forget you."
"Much good that will be to me,"
said the top, and they spoke to each other no more. Next day the ball was taken out by the boy. The top saw it flying high in the air like a bird, till it would go quite out of sight. Each time it came back, as it touched the earth, it gave a higher leap than before, either because it longed to fly upwards, or from having a Spanish cork in its body. But the 9th time it rose in the air, it remained away. It did not return. The boy searched everywhere for it, but he searched in vain, for it could not be found. It was gone.
"I know very well where she is,"
said the top.
"She is in the swallow's nest, and has married the swallow."
The more the top thought of this, the more he longed for the ball. His love increased the more, just because he could not get it, and that she should have been won by another was the worst of all. The top still twirled about and hummed, but he continued to think of the ball, and the more he thought of her, the more beautiful she seemed to his fancy. My stomach just growled. I hope you guys didn't hear that. I hope you guys didn't hear my stomach growl. Sorry. Thus several years passed, and his love became quite old. The top also was no longer young, but there came a day when he looked handsomer than ever, for he was gilded all over. He was now a golden top, and whirled and danced about till he hummed quite loud, and was something worth looking at. But one day he leaped too high, and I just closed my tab. Oops, where is it? I just closed my tab. Hold on. But one day he leaped too high, and then he also was gone. They searched everywhere, even in the cellar, but he was nowhere to be found. Where could he be? He had jumped into the dustbin, where all sorts of rubbish were lying. Cabbage stalks, dust, and rain droppings had fallen down from the gutter under the roof.
"Now I'm in a nice place,"
said he.
"My gilding will soon be washed off here. Oh dear, what a set of rabble I have got amongst."
And then he glanced at a curious round thing like an old apple, which lay near a long leafless cabbage stalk. It was, however, not an apple, but an old ball, which had lain for years in the gutter and was now soaked through with water.
Thank goodness, here comes one of my own class with whom I can talk,"
said the ball, examining the gilded top.
"I am made of Morocco,"
said she.
"I was sewn together by a young lady, and I have a Spanish cork in my body, but no one would think of it to look at me now. I was once engaged to a swallow, but I fell in here from the gutter under the roof, and I have lain here more than 5 years, and have been thoroughly drenched. Believe me, it is a long time for a young maiden."
The top said nothing, but he thought of his old love, and the more she said, the more clear it became to him that this was the same ball. The servant then came to clean out the dustbin. "Ah," she exclaimed, "here's the gold top." So the top was brought again to notice and honor, but nothing more was heard of the little ball. He spoke not a word about his old love, for that soon died away. When the beloved object has lain for 5 years in a gutter, and has been drenched thoroughly, No one cares to know her again on meeting her in a dustbin. Rip. 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 That's the end of the story. So yes, things often seem better than they appear when you cannot have them, huh? As soon as she was available to him, he realized he did not fancy her really at all. You guys didn't hear my story, girl? Good. Good. Good, good, good. I'm glad. Yep, Ripple. 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 It is very unfortunate. It is a very unfortunate fate that she had, come in contact with. Yeah, it feels bad. It feels bad. But such is fate sometimes, I suppose. Such is fate sometimes. Did you guys like this story, even if it wasn't not like this? Did you guys like it? I liked it for the sake of the moral of the story. I liked it for the sake of the moral of the story. But it is not a happy story, I guess. It's not a particularly happy story. You guys did? Okay. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. I am gonna go heat up my drink. It'll take me like a minute or so. I will be back very, very quickly. So give me just a second. Guys, I am very, very stupid. I'm very, very stupid. I ran over my toe with my door. I literally ran over my toe with my door. It hasn't started bleeding yet. But it might. It's kind of like white right now. But yep, I ran over the edge of the door. I ran over the edge of my toe with the door. Because my toes pointed, my feet point inwards. And when I was closing the door, I had like one foot in the door still, like the edge of my toe in the door still. I thought it in, but I wasn't really paying attention. So when I started to close the door on the way back, I ended up running my toe into the side of the door, like right against the bone. It was painful. I'm okay. I haven't started crying, thankfully, but it was a very rough scrape. Ouch, yes. Yes. It could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. I don't think I'm going to start bleeding, but I am very dumb. Let it be known that I am very, very dumb sometimes. You did the gym once? You were opening a door and actually cut your toe? No! I'm sorry. I want to say that I would share my pain with you, and that I should deserve to be cut too. But I don't think that'll make your toe feel better from back then. You're with me? Thank you. I'm glad that someone is also as clumsy as me. Big dumb hours? Yes, absolutely. Big dumb hours. Big dumb hours indeed. But thank you. Thank you for relating your pain to me. I'm sorry I'm not bleeding as well for your sake, but I think that'd be kind of stupid if I went to go cut myself to unite with you. But I am sorry. Anyways. You know, with your room story a few times as well? Yeah, we're all kind of dumb here, aren't we? We're all kind of dumb here. Maybe we should get our head checked. I'm kidding. We shouldn't get our head checked. But maybe we should be a little bit more aware of our feet. We shouldn't be dragging our feet. It's good that I'm not bleeding? Yeah, it is good. It is good. I don't get shots very often. So, which is bad. You guys should get your shots, by the way. You should get your shots from hospitals. But anyways, so it's kind of bad if I end up getting, like, scraped by stuff. If I end up getting scraped by stuff, I'd probably have to go get my shots. And I'm kind of trying to avoid that because I think needles are terrifying. I see that my internet just chipped itself a little bit. I'm hoping that it was only the frames, though, and not me talking. But let me know if that was me, if me talking just got interrupted. But yes. Oh no, yes, oh no. It's not so bad. They are? I don't know what they are. But you're saying they are too. Why are you saying that too? But yes, just let me know if you need me to repeat myself at any point. Because things happen. Anyways. It paused for a second. What I was saying was, I haven't gotten my shots. I haven't gotten shots from the hospital in a few years. Because, not a few years, in like a couple of years. Because I think needles are scary. Mostly because, I get really dizzy when I get blood drawn from me. So it's not like medicine shots or vaccine shots, anything like that are scary to me. It's the fact that whenever I get blood drawn, I get really dizzy and my body locks up because it can't handle or lose very much blood. So when I get my blood drawn, my body literally freaks out and I lock up and I have to take like 15 minutes. So the nurses have to be very careful and immediately ready to carry me off somewhere aside. So this is why I don't like needles. It is a terrifying experience for me. So I try not to get my shots in any sort of way because it just reminds me of things that have happened. So, OGs? Yes, OGs. Indeed. My body is not very sturdy. Unfortunately, it is not a very hardy body. Anyways. We have the fourth story called the Fir Tree. The Fir Tree. Needles are horrifying. Don't mind pain too much, but you can't stand seeing it go into you. Just look away, Fivehead. Just look away. Just turn your head, stare at the corner of the wall, and try to relax and not relax because no one can relax when you know the needle's coming. Try to relax and completely fail. That's much more understandable than needles just being scary. Yes, of course. You do? Good. Anyways, the Fir Tree. This story is about, things often seem better. This is the reason about the grass is greener on the other side, essentially. The grass is always greener on the other side, and then it's not, like, exactly. So it's like literally about the grass is green on the other side, no matter what side you're on. So you guys will see. Except in this case, it's the tree's life is better on the other side. No matter what side he's on. So, you guys ready to hear about the fate of this poor fir tree? Where's my other drink? There's a drink. Whoa. There it is. Okay, sorry. You guys ready? Ready? Okay. Let me turn my phone back on, because it turned off. There you go. The Fir Tree. Far down in the forest, where the warm sun and the fresh air made a sweet resting place, grew a pretty little fir tree. Yet it was not happy. It was so much to be tall like its companions, the pines and firs which grew around it. The sun shone, and the soft air fluttered its leaves, and the little peasant children passed by, prattling merrily, but the fir tree heeded them not. Sometimes the children would bring a large basket of raspberries or strawberries, wreathed on a straw, and seat themselves near the fir tree, saying, "Is it not a pretty little tree?" which made it feel more unhappy than before. And yet all this while the tree grew a notch or joint taller every year. For the number of joints in the stem of a fir tree, we can discover its age. For by the number of joints in the stem of a fir tree, you can discover its age. Still, as it grew, it complained,
"Oh, how I wish I was as tall as other trees. Then I might be able to spread out my branch on every side, and on my top would overlook the wide world. I should have the birds building their nests on my boughs, and when the wind blew, I should bow with stately dignity like my tall companions."
The tree was so discontented that it took no pleasure in the warm sunshine, the birds, or the rosy clouds that floated over it morning and evening. Sometimes in winter, when the snow lay white and glittering on the ground, a hare would come springing along and jump right over the little tree, and then how mortified it would feel. 2 winters passed, and when the third nut arrived, the tree had grown so tall that the hare was obliged to run around it. Yet it remained unsatisfied, and would exclaim, "Oh, if I could keep on growing tall and old, there is nothing worth more caring for in the world." In the autumn, as usual, the woodcutters came and cut down several of the tallest trees, and the young fir tree, which was now grown to its full height, shuddered as the noble trees fell to the earth with a crash. After the branches were lopped off, the trunks looked slender and bare, that they could be scarcely recognized. Then they were placed upon wagons and drawn by horses out of the forest. Where are they going? What would become of them? The young fir tree wished very much to know. So in the spring, when the swallows came and storks came, it asked, "Do you know whether those trees were taken? Did you meet them?" The swallows knew nothing, but the stork, after a little reflection, nodded his head and said,
"Yes, I think I do. I met several when I flew from Egypt, and they had fine masts that smelt like fir. I think those must have been the trees. I assure you they were very stately, very stately."
"Oh, how I wish I were tall enough to go to the sea," said the fir tree.
"What is in the sea, and what does it look like?" "It would take too much time to explain."
Sorry, I need to redo that one.
"It would take too much time to explain,"
said the stork, flying quickly away. "Rejoice in thy youth," said the sunbeam. "Rejoice in thy fresh growth and the young life that is in thee." And the wind kissed the tree, and the dew watered it with tears, but the fir tree regarded them not. Christmas time drew near, and many young trees were cut down, some even smaller and younger than the fir tree, who enjoyed neither rest nor peace with longing to leave its forest home. These young trees, which were chosen for their beauty, kept their branches, and were also laid on wagons and drawn by horses out of the forest.
"Where are they going?"
asked the fir tree.
"They are not taller than I am. Indeed, one is much less. And why are the branches cut off? Where are they going?"
We know, sang the sparrows. "We have looked in the windows of the houses in the town, and we know what is done with them. They are dressed up in the most splendid manner. We have seen them standing in the middle of a warm room, and adorned with all sorts of beautiful things. honey cakes, gilded apples, playthings, and many hundreds of wax tapers. And then, asked the Fir Tree, trembling through all of its branches, then what happens? We do not see any more, said the sparrows, but this is enough for us. I wonder if anything was so brilliant will ever happen to me, said the Fir Tree. It'd be much prettier, much better than crossing the sea. I long for it almost with pain. Oh, when will Christmas be here? I am now as tall and well grown as those which were taken away last year. Oh, that I were now laid on the wagon, or standing in the warm room, with all that brightness and splendor around me. Something better and more beautiful is to come after, where the trees would not be so decked out. Yes, what follows will be grander and more splendid. What can it be? I am weary with longing. I scarcely know how I feel. Rejoice with us, said the air and the sunshine. Enjoy thine own bright life in this fresh air. The tree would not rejoice, though it grew taller every day, and summer and winter, its dark green foliage might be seen in the forest, while passers-by would say, "What a beautiful tree!" A short time before Christmas, the discontented fir tree was the first to fall. As axe cut through the stem and divided the pith, the tree fell with a groan to the earth, conscious of pain and faintness, and forgetting all its anticipations and of happiness. Forgetting all its anticipations of happiness, in sorrow at leaving its home in the forest. It knew that it should never again see its dear old companions, the trees, nor the little bushes and many-colored flowers that had grown by its side, perhaps not even the birds. Neither was the journey at all pleasant. The tree first recovered itself while being unpacked in the courtyard of a house with several other trees, and it heard a man say, "We want only this one. This is the prettiest." Then came two servants in grand livery, and carried the fir tree into a large and beautiful apartment. On the walls hung pictures, and near the great stove stood great china vases, or vases, whatever you want to call them, with lions on the lids. There were rocking chairs, silken sofas, large tables covered with books, pictures, and other playthings that are all worth a great deal of money. At least the children said so. I just lost my spot. There it is. Then the fir tree was placed in a large tub full of sand. But is it baize or bays? I think it's baize. I'll say baize for now. But green baize hung all around it, so that no one could see it was a tub, and it stood on a very handsome carpet. How the fir tree trembled! What was going to happen to him now? Some young ladies came, and the servants helped him to adorn the tree. One branch they hung little bags cut out of colored paper, and each bag was filled with sweetmeats, as if they had grown there. And above and all around were hundreds of red, blue, and white tapers, which were fastened on the branches. Dolls, exactly like real babies, were placed under the green leaves. The tree had never seen such great things before, and at the very top was fastened a glittering star made of tinsel. Oh, it was very beautiful. "This evening," they all exclaimed, "how bright it will be!" Oh, that evening were come, thought the tree, "and the tapers will all be lighted. Then I shall know what else is going to happen. Will the trees of the forest come to see me? I wonder if the sparrows will peep in at the windows as they fly. Shall I grow faster here? Keep on all these ornaments summer and winter?" But guessing was of very little use. It made his bark ache, and this pain is as bad for a slender fir tree as headache is for us. At last the tapers were lighted, and then what a glistening blaze of light the tree presented! It trembled so with joy in all its branches that one of the candles fell among the green leaves and burnt some of them. "Help, help!" exclaimed the young ladies, but there was no danger, for they had quickly extinguished the fire. After this, the tree tried not to tremble at all, though the fire frightened him. He was so anxious not to hurt any of the beautiful ornaments, even while their brilliancy dazzled him. And now the folding doors were thrown open, and a troop of children rushed in as if they were intended to upset the tree. They were followed more silently by their elders. For a moment the little ones stood silent with astonishment, then they shouted for joy, till the room rang, and they danced merrily round the tree, while one present after another was taken from it. "What are they doing? What will happen next?" thought the fir. At last the candles burnt down to the branches and they were put out. Then the children received permission to plunder the tree. Oh, how they rushed upon it, till the branches cracked, and had it not been fastened with a glistening star to the ceiling, it might have been thrown down. The children then danced around with their pretty toys, and no one noticed the tree, so the children's maid who came and peeked among the branches to see if an apple or fig had been forgotten. "A story! A story!" cried the children, pulling a little fat man towards the tree.
"Now we'll be in the green shade,"
said the man as he seated himself under it.
"And the tree will have the pleasure of healing also. But I shall only relate one story. What shall it be? Avad or Humpty Dumpty, who fell on down the stairs, but soon got up again, and at last married a princess?"
"Avad!" cried some. "Humpty Dumpty!" cried some others. And there was a fine shouting and crying about. But the Fir Tree remained quite still, and thought to himself, "Shall I not have anything to do with this?" But he had already amused himself as much as they wished. Then the old man told them the story of Humpty Dumpty, how he fell down the stairs and was raised up again and married a princess. And the children clapped their hands and cried, "Tell us another, tell us another," for they wanted to hear the story of Avad, but they only had Humpty Dumpty. After this, the Fir Tree became quite silent and thoughtful. Never had the birds in the forest told such tales as Humpty Dumpty, who fell down the stairs and yet married a princess.
"Ah, yes, so it happens in the world,"
thought the Fir Tree. He believed it all because it was related by such a nice man.
"Ah, well," he thought, "who knows? Perhaps I may fall down too and marry a princess."
And then he looked forward joyfully to the next evening, expecting to be again decked out with lights and playthings, gold and fruit.
"Tomorrow I will not tremble," thought he. "I will enjoy all my splendor, and I shall hear the story of Humpty Dumpty again. Perhaps I've read Avad."
And the tree remained quiet and thoughtful all night. In the morning, the servants and the housemaid came in.
"Now," thought the fairy, "all my splendor is going to begin again."
But they dragged him out of the room and up the stairs to the Garret, and threw him on the floor in a dark corner where no daylight shone, and there they left him.
"What does this mean?" thought the tree. "What am I to do here? I can hear nothing in a place like this."
And he had enough time to think, for days and nights passed, and no one came near him. And when at last somebody did come, it was only to put away large boxes in a corner. So the tree was completely hidden from sight, as if it had never existed.
"It is winter now," thought the tree. "The ground is hard and covered with snow, so that people cannot plant me. I shall be sheltered here, I dare say, until spring comes. How thoughtful and kind everyone is to me. Still I wish this place were not so dark, as well as so lonely, with not even a little hare to look at. How pleasant it was out in the forest, while the snow lay on the ground, where the hare would run by, yes, and jump over me too, although I did not like it then. Oh, it is terribly lonely here."
"Squeak, squeak," said a little mouse, creeping cautiously towards the tree. Then came another, and they both sniffed at the Fir Tree and kept between the branches. "Oh, it is very cold," said the little mouse. "Or else we should be so comfy here, shouldn't we, you old Fir Tree?"
"I am not old,"
said the Fir Tree.
"There are so many who are older than I am."
"Where did you come from, and what do you know?" asked the mice, who were full of curiosity. "Have you seen the most beautiful places in the world? Can you tell us all about them? Have you been in the storeroom, where cheeses lie on the shelf and hams hang from the ceiling? One can run on tallow tree candles there, and go on thin and come out fat."
"I know nothing of it. I know nothing of that place," said the Fir Tree. "But I know the wood there, where the sun shines and the birds sing."
And the tree told the little mice all about its youth. They had never heard such an account in their lives, and after they had listened to it attentively, they said, "What number of things had you seen? You must be very happy."
"Happy!"
exclaimed the Fir Tree, and then as he reflected upon what they had been telling him, he said,
"Ah, yes! After all, those were happy days."
But when he went on and related all about Christmas Eve, and how he had dressed up with cakes and lights, the mice said, "How happy you must have been, you old Fir Tree."
"I am not old at all," replied the Fir Tree. "I only came from the forest this summer. I am now checked in my growth."
"What splendid stories you can relate," said the mice. And the next night the 4 mice came with them to hear I'm just tripping over my words. And the next night, 4 other mice came with them to hear what the tree had to tell. I'm gonna take a drink so I stop tripping. The more he talked, the more he remembered. And then he thought to himself,
Those were happy days, but they may come again. Humpty Dumpty fell downstairs, yet he married the princess. Perhaps I may marry a princess too.
And the fir tree thought of the pretty little birch tree that grew in the forest, which was to him a real beautiful princess. Who is Humpty Dumpty? Asked the little mice. And then the tree related the whole story. He could remember every single word. And the little mice were so delighted with it that they were ready to jump to the top of the tree. The next night, a great many more mice made their appearance. And on Sunday, 2 rats came with them, but they said it was not a pretty story at all. And the little mice were very sorry, for it made them also think less of it. I will re-chat after I'm done with this. The story is almost over. So give me just a bit. It'll be like 5 minutes. Do you know only one story? Asked the rats.
Only one,
replied the fir tree.
I heard it on the happiest evening of my life, but I did not know I was so happy at the time.
We think it is a very miserable story, said the rats. Don't you know any story about bacon or tallow in the storeroom?
No,
replied the tree. Many thanks to you then, replied the rats, and they marched off. The little mice also kept away after this, and the tree sighed and said,
It was very pleasant when the merry little mice sat round me and listened while I talked. Now that it is all past too, however, I shall consider myself happy when someone comes to take me out of this place.
But would that ever happen? Yes. One morning, people came out to clear the garret. The boxes were packed away, and the tree was pulled out of the corner and thrown roughly on the garret floor. Then the servant dragged it out upon the staircase where the daylight shone.
Now life is beginning again,
said the tree, rejoicing in the sunshine and fresh air. Then it was carried down the stairs and taken into the courtyard so quickly that it forgot to think of itself and could only look about. There was so much to be seen. The court was close to a garden where everything looked blooming. That's weird. It literally says where everything looked blooming. Fresh and fragrant roses hung over the little palings. The linden trees were in blossom, while the swallows flew here and there crying, Tweet, tweet, my mate is coming. My mate is coming. But it was not the fir tree they meant.
Now I shall live,
cried the tree, joyfully spreading out its branches. But alas, they were all withered and yellow, and it lay in a corner amongst weeds and nettles. The star of gold paper still stuck in the top of the tree and glittered in the sunshine. In the courtyard, 2 of the merry children were playing, who had danced round the tree at Christmas and had been so happy. The youngest saw the gilded star and ran and pulled it off the tree. Look at what is sticking to the old fir tree, said the child, treading on the branches till they crackled underneath its boots. And the tree saw all the fresh bright flowers in the garden, and then looked at itself and wished it had remained in the dark corner of the garret. It thought of its fresh youth in the forest, of the merry Christmas evening, and of the little mice who had listened to the story of Humpty Dumpty.
Past, past, said the old tree. Oh, but I had enjoyed myself while I could have done so. But now it is too late.
Then a lad came and chopped the tree into small pieces, till a large bundle lay in a heap on the ground. The pieces were placed in a fire under the copper, and they quickly blazed up brightly, while the tree sighed so deeply that each sigh was like a pistol shot. Then the children, who had played, came and seated themselves in front of the fire, looked at it, and cried, Pop, pop! But each pop, which was a deep sigh. The tree was thinking of a summer day in the forest, and of Christmas evening, and of Humpty Dumpty, the only story it ever heard or knew how to relate, till at last it was consumed. The boys still played in the garden, and the youngest wore the gold star on his breast, with which the tree had been adorned during the happiest evening of its life. Now all was past. The tree's life was past, and the story also, for all stories must come to an end at last. The end. Rip. 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 Take us to the trees? Yes, absolutely. Take us to the trees. The trees are having a rough life. Trees out home. Go play for the king. There you go. Where is it going? It feels like it's going to be another sad one. Yep, it is another sad one. That's why I said the grass is often greener on the other side. The grass is often greener on the other side. Cool J says hi. I miss Cool J. I hope he's doing good. Last I heard he was loving a warrior, but that was like... There's a cat here in my drink. But last I heard that, it was like... literally like 4 months ago when I heard about it. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I hope he's doing good though. Hope he's doing good. Hello to him as well. Cool J the legend? Cool J is a legend. He is indeed a legend. Tree, no, yep, rip Tree. Tree is dead. Tree is dead. Tree is dead. Feels bad. Feels very, very bad, unfortunately. Very, very bad. But yep. 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 Again, this is why the grass is green on the other side. And you should enjoy what you have, because things are not always as good as they appear. And such things often come with a price. Indeed? Yes, indeed. Okay. As you guys saw, the prediction ended. It took me an hour and 7 minutes to read through 4 stories. So thus, I sent out the channel points to everyone who voted for yes, backup stories will be read. Congrats, congrats, congrats. Congrats, congrats, congrats to everyone who did so. I will look at what story I will read first. That is the backup story. Let's see. Okay. Songs? Yes. Yes. Congrats on your guys' like 2.4k. No, it's 2.1k points. Congrats on your guys' 2,100 points. Congrats, congrats, congrats. And congrats on the first, prediction ever for the channel. Congrats, congrats, congrats. Congrats, congrats. Congrats. So, the next story we shall read is called The Swineherd. I did not finish reading the story, I will be honest. So I can't really give you guys an idea of what it's like or what the moral will be. I can't give you a theme or anything like that. We're just going to jump right into it and see how it goes. Because I've got no idea, to be honest. I've got no idea. My guess is as good as your guys's, basically. My guess is as good as your guys's. I'm gonna warm up my drink again because my room is cold, unfortunately. My room is very cold, so my drink is already toast. You like it when we all go in blind? Me too? I do too, but I do need to usually read stuff just to be safe. I do need to read stuff to be safe. Rip drink? Yes, rip drink. Rip drink. This will probably not be the last time I have to heat it up. But I will be right back. It'll take me about a minute because I should only have to warm it up for like 30 seconds. So I will be quickly back. Okay. There's chatting. Okay. Gonna read my notes of this story real quick. Okay. Read my notes for this story. And thus, we shall continue with the Swineherd. We shall continue. Again, no idea what the story is about, so we'll see. Welcome back. Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go for it. The Swineherd. Once upon a time lived a poor prince. His kingdom was very small, but it was large enough to enable him to marry, and marry he would. It was rather bold of him that he went and asked the emperor's daughter, "Will you marry me?" But he ventured to do so, for his name was known far and wide, and there were hundreds of princesses who would have gladly accepted him. But would she do so? Now we shall see. On the grave of the prince's father grew a rose tree, the most beautiful of its kind. It bloomed only once in 5 years, and then it had only one single rose upon it. But what a rose it was! It had such a sweet scent that one instantly forgot all sorrow and grief when one smelt it. He also had a nightingale, which could sing as if every sweet melody was in its throat. This rose and the nightingale he wished to give to the princess, and therefore both were put into big silver cases and sent to her. The emperor ordered them to be carried into the great hall where the princess was just playing "Visitors Are Coming" with her ladies in waiting. When she saw large cases with the presents therein, she clapped her hands for joy. "I wish it were a little kitty cat," said she. But then the rose tree with the beautiful rose was also unpacked. "Oh, how nicely it is made!" exclaimed the ladies.
"It is more than nice,"
said the emperor.
"it is charming."
The princess touched it and nearly began to cry.
"For shame, Pa,"
she said.
"It is not artificial. It is natural."
For shame, cried all the ladies.
"Let us see what the other case contains before we are angry,"
said the emperor. Then the nightingale was taken out, and it sang so beautifully that no one could possibly say anything unkind about it. "Superb, charmant," said the ladies of the court, for they all prattled French, one worse than the other.
How much the word reminds me of the old music box of the late lamented empress,"
said an old courtier.
"It has exactly the same tone, the same execution." "You are right,"
said the emperor, and began to cry like a little child.
"I hope it is not natural,"
said the princess.
"Yes, it is certainly natural,"
replied those who had brought the presents.
"Then let it fly,"
said the princess, and refused to see the prince. But the prince was not discouraged. He painted his face, put on common clothes, pulled his cap over his forehead, and came back.
"Good day, Emperor,"
he said.
"Could you not give me employment at the court? There are many,"
replied the emperor,
"who apply for places, but for the present I have no vacancy, but I will remember you. But wait a moment, it just comes into mind. I require somebody to look after my pigs, for I have a great many."
Thus the prince was appointed imperial swineherd, and as such he lived in a wretchedly small room near the pigsty. There he worked all day long, and when it was night he made a pretty little pot. There were little bells round the rim, and when the water began to boil in it, the bells began to play the old tune. A jolly old sow once lived in his sty, 3 little piggies had she. But what was more wonderful was that, when one put a finger in the steam rising from the pot, one could at once smell what meals they were preparing on every fire in the whole town. That was indeed much more remarkable than the rose. When the princess with her ladies passed by and heard the tune, she stopped and looked quite pleased, for she could also play it. In fact, it was the only tune she could play, and she played it with one finger.
"That is the tune I know,"
she exclaimed.
"He must be a well-educated swineherd. Go and ask him how much the instrument is."
One of the ladies had to go and ask, but she put on patents. "What will you take for your pot?" asked the lady.
"I will have 10 kisses from the princess,"
said the swineherd.
"God forbid."
Well, I cannot sell it for less,
replied the swineherd.
What did he say?
Said the princess.
I really cannot tell you,
replied the lady.
You can whisper it in my ear.
Oh, wait. Oh, I see.
You can whisper it in my ear. It is very naughty,
she said after she heard it, and then walked off. When she had gone a little distance, the bells rang again so sweetly. A jolly old sow once lived in a sty. 3 little piggies had she.
Ask him,
said the princess,
if he will be satisfied with 10 kisses from one of my ladies. No, thank you,
said the swineherd.
10 kisses from the princess, or I keep my pot.
That is so tiresome, said the princess,
but you must stand before me so that nobody can see it.
Then the ladies placed themselves in front of her and spread out their dresses, and she gave the swineherd 10 kisses and received the pot. That was a pleasure. Day and night the water in the pot was boiling. There was not a single fire in the whole town of which they did not know what was preparing on it. The chamberlains as well as the shoemakers. The ladies danced and clapped their hands for joy. We know who will eat soup and pancakes. We know who will eat porridge and cutlets. Oh, how interesting.
Very interesting indeed,
said the mistress of the household.
But you must not betray me.
Oh, I know, that's the princess, sorry.
Very interesting indeed,
said the mistress of the household.
But you must not betray me, for I am the emperor's daughter.
Of course not, they all said. The swineherd, that is to say, the prince. But they did not know that otherwise than... This is a weird sentence. But they did not know otherwise than that he was a real swineherd. Did not waste a single day without doing something. He made a rattle which, when turning around quickly, played all the waltzes, gallops, and polkas since the creation of the world.
But that is superb,
said the princess passing by.
I have never heard a more beautiful composition. Go down and ask him what the instrument costs, but I shall not kiss him again.
He will have 100 kisses from the princess, said the lady who had gone down to ask him.
I believe he is mad,
said the princess, and walked off, but soon she stopped.
One must encourage art,
she said.
I am the emperor's daughter. Tell him I will give him 10 kisses as I did the other day. The remainder one of my ladies can give him.
But we do not like to kiss him, said the ladies.
That is nonsense,
said the princess.
If I can kiss him, you can also do it. Remember that I gave you food and employment.
And the lady had to go down once more.
100 kisses from the princess,
said the swineherd,
or everyone keeps his own. Place yourselves before me,
the princess said then. They did as they were bidden, and the princess kissed him.
I wonder what the crowd near the pigsty means,
said the emperor, who had just come out on his balcony. He rubbed his eyes and put his spectacles on.
The ladies of the court are up to some mischief, I think. I shall have to go down and see.
He pulled up his shoes, for they were down at the heels, and he was very quick about it. When he had come down into the courtyard, he walked quite softly, and the ladies were so busily engaged in counting the kisses that all should be fair that they did not notice the emperor. He raised himself on tiptoe.
What does this mean?
He said, when he saw that his daughter was kissing the swineherd, and then hit their heads with his shoe just as the swineherd received the 68th kiss. It's one off of 69. What a shame.
Go out of my sight,
said the emperor, for he was very angry, and both the princess and the swineherd were banished from the empire. There she stood and cried. The swineherd scolded her, and the rain came down in torrents.
Alas, unfortunate creature that I am,
said the princess.
I wish I had accepted the prince. Oh, how wretched I am.
The swineherd went behind a tree, wiped his face, threw off his poor attire, and stepped forth in his princely garments. He looked so beautiful that the princess could not help bowing to him.
I have now learned to despise you,
he said.
You refused an honest prince. You did not appreciate the rose and the nightingale, but you did not mind kissing a swineherd for his toys. You have no one but yourself to blame.
And then he returned to his kingdom and left her behind. She could now sing at leisure. A jolly old sow once lived in a sty. 3 little piggies had she. The end. The end. Rip. Rip. Rip, rip, rip. Bip, bip, bip. Princess only? Man will take no other? Yes, he's very insistent on what he wanted. But in the end, he did not accept her offering. She was too late and too bratty. She was too into material things rather than the personality he truly had. What a hecking shame. They could have made it so good. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm sorry. Hello, hello, hello. Is that my voice? Yes. I do a lot of voices for reading. For the story time, I do quite a few voices. That is one of them. That is very many one. Very one of them. I do a lot of them. You've missed quite a bit. Quite a bit. Thank you for the compliment though. Thank you. I assume that's a compliment at least. Thank you. Thank you. It's good fun. Let's see. So you've now gone through one backup story. Let me see what backup story I will read next. I think this one. Okay. You can't believe it? No way? Yes way. That is me. It's all me. You'll have to get used to it, huh? You'll have to stick around and hear more, huh? If you really want to believe it. The next story, if I can actually type out the title, is... Hey, thank you for the 2-month subscription. Thank you. Welcome back. Happy 2 months. And congrats on your new badge. Thank you. That is indeed all you. You're right. Thank you. I hope you're having a good night so far, Kitsune. I hope you're having a good night so far. How are you doing? I know that you're a little shocked so far, but how are you doing otherwise besides said shock? I'm gonna update the list while I wait for your reply. Where is it? List. There's a list. What did you just read? We just read this ranking. You just got back home from Los Angeles after seeing a lot of things? Should I ask what things you've seen? Cause I'm worried. I'm very curious what things you've seen, but I feel like it may not be appropriate to ask. However, I am very curious. So it is up to you whether or not you want to share what you've seen. Tis up to you. Have you all having a good night so far? I hope so. I know not everyone has had a good night, unfortunately. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make sure everyone has a good time. It's very real stuff. I see. I will not ask further then. LA is really weird for sure. I have never been to LA. So I will take your guys' word for it. That it is very weird. I believe you. The next story we have is The Little Elder Tree Mother. From what I read, I think I read about 3/4 of it. It's basically about a dryad who has seen quite a few things and is retelling a story about a couple. And it's a pretty, if I remember right, I didn't read to the end, so I don't know if it ends up wholesome. But I know it's been pretty wholesome from what I've read. So hopefully the story remains wholesome. This crazy looking old man in the hospital garb with wrist bracelets, and all just sitting in front of McDonald's driveway last time you were there. I mean, that could be me. I look kind of crazy. I'm kidding. I don't look crazy. But hey, how do you know he just needed McDonald's? How do you know he didn't just need McDonald's? Huh? Maybe he was hungry. Maybe he just got released and was hungry. doesn't guarantee that he's an escapee. Possible fatal car accident. Whoa. I'm not gonna read that aloud, but whoa. Whoa. Whoa, that is absolutely crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I'm not surprised that happened since they were going over 100 miles per hour. I'm really not surprised at that speed. Really surprised. You took some video? That's... I mean, detail. Detail. Just wanted some good McDonald's? Yeah. McDonald's tastes good. McDonald's tastes good. Doesn't matter if you're from the hospital. Sometimes you need some fries. Shouldn't be sitting right where the cars drive by then? Wait. Right where the cars drive by then? I feel like he should be going to jump on the car or something. Oh, you're talking about... Okay, I got confused and say. I got confused. Get confused. Yeah, you're right. That would be really scary if someone jumped on top of the car. If someone jumped on top of a car that I was in, I would be terrified. If someone jumped on top of my car, I would freaking call 911. I would call 911 and, like, huddle against the floor and hope that they didn't do anything crazy. Because that seems terrifying. Good McDonald's face today? You eating fries for us in chat? For me in chat? Thank you! They have to be crisp though. Because where I live, the McDonald's ends up having a lot of soggy fries. Like really, not soggy, but kind of mushy fries. And it's not very good. Then I end up regretting getting them and wishing I had gone to a different fast food joint for fries. So they have to be crisp, or I'm gonna riot about it. Poggies? Yes, Pog. Pog that he brought fries, Pog. I am always hungry, so I gladly accept the offering. Gladly accept. You mushy fries? Yeah, mushy fries are gross. No thanks. Anyways. Are you guys ready for the next story? You guys ready? We derailed stream? Yes, of course. But that's okay. I don't mind being derailed. I don't mind at all. You guys ready for the next story though? Like I said, it's pretty wholesome. Ready? Okay. The Little Elder Tree Muddy. There once was a little boy who had caught colds. He had gone out and got wet feet. Nobody had the least idea how it happened. The weather was quite dry. His mother undressed him, put him to bed, and ordered the teapot to be brought in, that she might make him a good cup of tea from the elder tree blossoms, which is so warming. At the same time, the kind-hearted old man who lived by himself in the upper story of the house came in. He led a lonely life, for he had no wife and children, but he loved the children of others very much, and he could tell so many fairy tales and stories that it was a pleasure to hear them. I'm going to interrupt myself real quick by the fact that I actually learned recently that story is spelled with an E. I didn't realize story was spelled with an E in between the R and the Y, so when the first time I read story being spelled correctly, it was really wild for me. Like, you think I would have seen the correct spelling beforehand, but no. It is taking me until like a month ago to learn how you correctly spell it. It was really, really weird. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the story, but I had to interrupt myself.
Now drink your tea,
said the mother.
Perhaps you will hear a story. Yes, if I only knew a fresh one,
said the old man, nodded smilingly.
But how did the little fellow get his wet feet?
He then asked.
That,
replied the mother,
nobody can understand. Will you tell me a story?
Asked the boy.
Yes, if you can tell me as nearly as possible how deep is the gutter in the little street where you go to school. Just half as high as my top boots,
replied the boy.
But then I must stand in the deepest holes. There, now we know where you got your wet feet,
said the old man.
I had to tell you a story, but the worst of it is, I do not know any more. You can make one up,
said the little boy.
Mother says you can tell a fairy tale about anything you look at or touch. That is all very well, but such tales or stories are worth nothing. No, the right ones come by themselves and knock at my forehead saying, "Here I am." Will not one knock soon?
Asked the boy, and the mother smiled while she put elder tree blossoms into the teapot and poured boiling water over them.
Pray, tell me a story. Yes, if stories came by themselves, they are so proud, they only come when they please. But wait,
He said suddenly.
there is one. Look at the teapot. There is a story in it now.
Is it just a difference of where you live? Like math and maths? Ah, yeah, it's possible. You're heading out? Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by, Sky. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was good seeing you. It was very good seeing you. I hope you have a good night. Hope you sleep well. Have wonderful dreams that don't keep you up. And etc. 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 Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night, good night, good night. Good night, good night. And thank you for stopping by. Yes, take care, take care. Think it's story without an E? And the UK story with an E for floors of a building? Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know. I'm kind of confused. I kind of like the extra E as a bit of a distinction between like book story and building story. So I might use the E for it. But yeah, that's definitely possible. It could be a case of the US, shortening stuff like they do with all the U's. So maybe. I'm gonna take a drink and then I'll continue. Okay. And the little boy looked at the teapot. The lid rose up gradually. The elder blossoms sprang forth one by one, fresh and white. Long boughs came forth. Even out of the sprout they grew up in all directions, and formed a bush, nay, a large elder tree, which stretched its branches up to the bed and pushed the curtains aside. There were so many blossoms, and such a sweet fragrance. In the midst of were so many blossoms. Wait. What? In the midst of the tree sat a kindly old-looking woman with a strange dress. It was as green as the leaves, and trimmed with large white blossoms, so it was difficult to say whether it was a real cloth or the leaves and blossoms of the elder tree.
What is the little woman's name? What is the woman's name?
Asked the little boy.
Well, the Romans and Greeks used to call her a dryad,
Said the old man.
We do not understand that. Out in the sailors' quarter they gave her a better name. There she is called Elder Tree Mother. Now you must listen attentively to her and look at the beautiful elder tree.
What? Sorry. I'm trying to see if that's part of what my brain is just making a ton of question marks as I read it. Because I'm trying to understand if this is... Okay. I was trying to make sure if that was the old man still talking or if it was in the narration. Just such a large tree covered with flowers stands out there. It grew in the corner of a humble little yard. Under this tree sat two old people one afternoon in the beautiful sunshine. He was an old soldier, and she his old wife, and they already had great-grandchildren, and were soon to celebrate their golden wedding. But they could not remember this date. And the elder tree mother was sitting in the tree, and looked as pleased as this one here. I know very well when the golden wedding is to take place, said she. But they did not hear it. They were talking of bygone days.
Well, do you remember?
Said the old sailor.
When we were quite small and used to run about and play, it was the very same yard where we are now. We used to put little branches in the ground and make a garden. Yes,
said the old woman.
I remember it very well. We used to water the branches, and one of them, an elder tree branch, took root and grew and became the large tree under which we are now sitting as old people. Certainly you are right,
said he.
And in yonder column stood a large water tower. There I used to sail my boat, which I cut out myself. It sailed so well, but soon I had to sail somewhere else. But first we went to school to learn something,
she said.
And then we were confirmed. We both wept on that day, but in the afternoon we went out hand in hand and ascended the high tower and looked out into the wide world right over Copenhagen and the sea. Then we walked to Fredericksburg, where the king and queen were sailing about in their magnificent boat on the canals. But soon I had sailed about somewhere else. For many years I was traveling about far away at home. And I often cried about you, for I was afraid lest you were drowned and lying at the bottom of the sea. Many a time I got up in the night and looked if the weathercock had turned. It turned often, but you did not return. I remember one day distinctly. The rain was pouring down in torrents. The dustman had come to the house where I was in service. I went down the dustbin and stood for a moment in the doorway and looked at the dreadful weather. Then the postman gave me a letter. It was from you. Heavens, how that letter had traveled about. I tore it open and read it. I cried and laughed at the same time, and I was so happy. Therein was written that you were staying in the hot countries where the coffee grows. There must be marvelous countries. You said a great deal about them, and I read all while the train was pouring down and I was standing there with the dustbin. Then suddenly someone put his arm round my waist. Yes, and you gave him a hearty smack on the cheek,
said the old man.
I did not know it was you. You had come as quickly as your letter, and you looked so handsome, and you do still. You had a large yellow silk handkerchief in your pocket and a shining hat on. You looked so well, and the weather in the street was horrible. Then we were married,
he said.
Do you remember how we got our first boy? And then Mary, Niles, Peter, John, and Christian? Oh, yes, now they have all grown up and become useful members of society whom everybody cares for. And their children have had children again,
said the old sailor.
Yes, these are children's children. They are strong and healthy. If I am not mistaken, our wedding took place at this season of the year.
Yes, today is your golden wedding day, said the little elder tree mother, stretching her head down between the two old people who thought that she was their neighbor who was nodding to them. They looked at each other and clasped their hands. Soon afterwards, the children and grandchildren came, for they knew very well it was the golden wedding day. They had already wished them joy and happiness in the morning, but the old people had forgotten about it, although they remembered things so well that Although they remembered things so well that had passed many, many years ago. The elder tree smelled strongly, and the setting sun illuminated the faces of the old people, so they looked quite rosy. The youngest of the grandchildren danced around them and cried merrily that there would be a feast in the evening, for they would have hot potatoes, and the elder mother nodded in the tree and cried hooray with the others. But that was no fairy tale, said the little boy who listened to it. You will understand it, said the old man who told the story. Let us ask the little elder tree mother about it. That was no fairy tale, said the little elder tree mother. But now it comes. Real life furnishes us with subjects for the most wonderful fairy tales. For otherwise my beautiful elder bush could not have grown forth out of the teapot. And then she took the little boy out of the bed and placed him on her bosom. The elder branches, full of blossoms, closed over them. It was as if they sat in a thick-leaf bower which flew with them through the air. It was beautiful beyond description. The little elder tree mother had suddenly become a charming young girl, but her dress was still the same green material, covered with white blossoms, as the elder tree mother had worn. She had a real elder blossom on her bosom, and a wreath of the same flowers was wound round her curly golden hair. Her eyes were so large and so blue that it was wonderful to look at them. She and the boy kissed each other, and then they were of the same age and felt the same joys. They walked hand in hand out of the bower, and now stood the home in a beautiful flower garden. Near the green lawn, the father's walking stick was tied to a post. There was life in this stick for the little ones, for as soon as they seated themselves upon it, the polished knob turned into a neighing horse's head. A long black mane was fluttering in the wind, and 4 strong slender legs grew out. The animal was fiery and spirited. They galloped round the lawn. Hooray! Now we shall ride far away, many miles, said the boy. We shall ride to the old man's estate where we were last year. And then they rode round the lawn again, and the little girl, who, as we know, was no other than the little elder tree mother, continually cried, "Now we in the country. Do you see the farmhouse there, with a large baking stove, which projects like a gigantic egg out of the wall and into the road? The elder tree spreads its branches over it, and the rooster struts about and scratches for the hens. Look how proud he is. Now we are near the church." I just lost my spot, I'm sorry. "It stands on a high hill under the spreading oak trees. One of them is half dead. Now we are at the smithy, where the fire roars and the half-naked men beat their hammers so the sparks fly far and wide. Let's be off to the beautiful farm." And then they passed by everything. The little girl who was staying behind on the stick described. And the boys saw it, yet they only went round the town. Then they played in a sidewalk, and marked out a little garden on the ground. She took elder blossoms out of her hair and planted them, and they grew exactly like I gotta slow down. And grew exactly like those the old people planted when they were children, as we have heard before. They walked about hand in hand, just as the old couple had done when they were young. But they did not go to the round tower, nor to the Fredericksburg garden. No, the little girl seized the boy by the waist, and then they flew far into the country. It was spring, and it became summer. It was autumn, and it became winter, and thousands of pictures reflected themselves in the boy's eyes and heart. And the little girl always sang again, "You will never forget that." And during the whole flight, the elder tree smelt so sweetly. He noticed the roses and fresh beeches, but the elder tree smelled much stronger, for the flowers were fixed on the little girl's bosom, against the boy often rested his head during the flight. "It is beautiful here in the spring," said the little girl, and they were again in the green beechwood, where the thymes breathed forth sweet fragrance at their feet, and the pink anemones looked lovely in the green moss. Oh, we were always spring in the fragrant beechwood. "Here it is splendid in summer," she said, and they passed by old castles of the age of chivalry. The high walls and indented battlements were reflected in the water of the ditches, on which swans were swimming and peering into the old shady avenues. The corn waved in the field like a yellow sea. Red and yellow flowers grew in the ditches, wild hops and convolvuli in full bloom in the hedges. In the evening the moon rose large and round, and the hayricks in the meadows smelled sweetly. "One can never forget it. Here it is beautiful in autumn," said the little girl, and the atmosphere seemed twice as high in the blue, while the wood shone with crimson, green, and gold. The hounds were running off, flocks of wild fowl flew screaming over the barrows, while the bramble bushes twined around the old stones. The dark blue sea was covered with white-sailed ships, and in the barns sat old women, girls, and children, picking hops into a large tub. The young ones sang sweet songs, and the old people told fairy tales about goblins and sorcerers. It could not have been more pleasant anyway. "Here it is agreeable in winter," said the little girl, and all the trees were covered with thick frost, so they looked like white coral. The snow quaked under one's feet, as if one had new boots on. One shooting star after another traversed the sky. In the room the Christmas tree was lit, and there were songs and merriment. In the peasant's cottage the violins sounded, and games were played for apple quarters. Even the poorest child said, "It is beautiful in winter." And indeed it was beautiful. The little girl showed everything to the boy, and the elder tree continued to breathe forth sweet perfume, while the red flag with the white cross was streaming in the wind. It was the flag under which the old sailor had saved. The boy became a youth. He was to go out into the wide world, far away to the countries where the coffee grows. But at parting, the little girl took an elder blossom from her breast and gave it to him as a keepsake. He placed it in his prayer book, and when he opened it in the distant lands, it was always at the place where the flower of remembrance was lying. And the more he looked at it, the fresher it became, so he could almost smell the fragrance of the woods at home. He distinctly saw this little girl, with her bright blue eyes, peeping out behind the petals, and heard her whispering, "Here it is beautiful in spring, in autumn, in summer, and in winter." And hundreds of pictures passed through his mind. Thus many years rolled by. He now became an old man and was sitting with his old wife under an elder tree in full bloom. They held each other by the hand exactly as the great-grandfather and the great-grandmother had done outside, and, like them, talked about bygone days and of their golden wedding. The little girl with the blue eyes and elder blossoms in her hair was sitting up high in a tree and nodded them, saying, "Today is the golden wedding." And she took out 2 flowers out of her wreath and kissed them. They glittered at first like silver, then like gold, and when she placed them on the heads of the old people, each flower became a golden crown. There they sat like a king and queen under the sweet-smelling tree, which looked exactly like an elder tree, and he told his wife the story of the elder tree, as it had been told him when he was a little boy. They were both of opinion that the story contained many points like their own, and these similarities they liked best. "Yes, it is so," said the little girl in the tree. "Some call me Little Elder Tree Mother, others a Dryad, but my real name is Remembrance. It is I who sit in the tree which grows and grows. I can remember things and tell stories, but let's see if you still have got your flower." And the old man opened his prayer book. The elder blossom was still in it, and as fresh as if it had only just been put in. Remembrance nodded, and the 2 old people, with their golden crowns on their heads, sat in the glowing evening sun. They closed their eyes, and, well, now the story is ended. The little boy in bed did not know whether he had dreamt it or heard it told. The teapot stood on the table, but no elder tree was growing out of it. The old man who had told the story was on the point of leaving the room, and he did go out.
How wonderful it was,
said the little boy.
"Mother, I have been to warm countries."
"I believe you," said the mother.
"If one takes 2 cups of hot elder tea, it is quite natural that one gets into warm countries."
And she covered him up so well that he might not take cold.
"You slept soundly while I was arguing with the old man whether it was a story or a fairy tale."
And what becomes of the little elder tree, Mother?" asked the boy.
"She's in the teapot,"
said the mother.
"and there she may remain."
There it is. That's the end of the story. That's the end of the little elder tree mother. Ta-da! 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 We read chat now. Hot potato? Yes, hot potato. Never forget, never forget. The story is melancholic? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I didn't realize that was how the story ended, and that's where the story was going. But that was super wholesome, but sad too. I'm not sure it's really, well, to me, I don't think it's very sad. I think it's a very sweet story. But if you are the type to often recall your memories with fondness and regret to be back in those days, then yes, it is definitely a sad story. Indeed. Indeed. But yes, thankfully it was a very wholesome story with no sort of sudden, unfortunate ending. Thankfully. Thankfully. It was definitely cute though, for sure. For sure. I'm gonna edit the list. And then I gotta figure out what story I'm reading next. What story am I gonna read next? I think this one. No, that's a really long story. I don't even know if we have time for that story. I think this one's fine. Maybe. I think this won't be fine. Okay. Ready? No, I didn't. Okay, good. You gonna head off? You're getting super sleepy? Good night now. Good night. Sleep well. Have a good rest. Lay your head on the bed. Fall asleep quickly. And have pleasant dreams. Goodbye. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night before you fall asleep. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm gonna edit the story title. And then we'll be good. I read like one paragraph of this story, so I can't even begin to understand. I can't even begin to guess what the story is gonna be like. So your guys' guess is gonna be as good as mine. I have literally no idea what the story is about. So we shall see. But yes, the next story is called Little Ida's Flowers, or Little Ida's Flowers. I'm gonna call it Ida, but it may very well be Ida. So, like I said, I have no idea what the story is like. Not even remotely a clue. Literally read one paragraph of it. And then that was it. That was as far as I got. One whole paragraph. So we will figure out what it's like in a bit. Huh. You gonna wind this one too? Yes. As we do with all the backup stories. As we do with all the backup stories. As we very well do. You guys ready? You guys ready? Ready for Little Ida's Flowers? I'm assuming it's gonna be about flowers. I mean, that's a pretty good guess. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Little Ida's Flowers. My poor flowers are quite dead, said Little Ida. They were so pretty yesterday evening, and now all the leaves are hanging down quite withered. What do they do that for? She asked of the student who sat on the sofa. She liked him very much. He'd tell the most amusing stories and cut out the prettiest pictures, hearts and ladies dancing, castles with doors that opened, as well as flowers. He was a delightful student. Why do the flowers look so faded today? She asked again, and pointed to her bouquet, which was quite withered.
Don't you know what is the matter with them?
Said the student.
The flowers were at a ball last night. Therefore, it is no wonder why they hang their heads.
But the little flowers cannot dance? Cried Little Ida.
Yes, indeed they can,
replied the student.
When it grows dark and everybody is asleep, they jump about quite merrily. They almost have a ball every night.
Can children go to these balls?
Yes,
said the student.
Little daisies and lilies of the valley.
Where the beautiful flowers dance? Asked Little Ida.
Have you not often seen the large castle outside the gates of the town, where the king lives in the summer, and where the beautiful garden is full of flowers? And have you not fed the swans with bread when they swam towards you? Well, the flowers have capital balls there, believe me.
I was in the garden out there yesterday with my mother, said Ida, but all the leaves were off the trees, and there was not a single flower left. Where are they? I used to see so many in the summer.
They are in the castle,
replied the student.
You must know that as soon as the king and all the court...
My phone just freaked out for a second.
You must know that as soon as the king and all the court are gone into the town, the flowers went out of the castle of the garden to the castle. And you should see how merry they are. Two most beautiful roses seat themselves on the throne, and they are called the king and queen. Then all the red coxcombs range themselves on each side and bow. These are the lords in waiting. After that, all the pretty flowers come in, and there is a grand ball. The blue violets represent little naval cadets, and dance with hyacinths and crocuses, which they call young ladies. The tulips and tiger lilies are the old ladies who sit and watch the dancing, so that everything may be conducted with order and propriety.
But, said the leader, is there no one there to hurt the flowers for dancing in the king's castle?
No one knows anything about it,
said the student.
The old steward of the castle, who is there, has to watch there at night, sometimes comes in, but he carries a great bunch of keys, and as soon as the flowers hear the keys rattle, they run and hide themselves behind the curtains, and stand quite still, just peeping their heads out. Then the old steward says, I smell flowers here, but he cannot see them.
Oh, how capital, said the leader, clapping her hands. Should I be able to see these flowers?
Yes,
said the student.
Mind you think of it the next time you go out. No doubt you will see them, if you peep through the window. I did so today, and I saw a long yellow lily lying stretched out on the sofa. She was a court lady.
Can the flowers in the botanical garden go to these balls? Asked Ida. It is such a distance.
Oh, yes,
said the student.
Whenever they like, for they can fly. Have you not seen those beautiful red, white, and yellow butterflies?
that look like flowers? They were flowers once. They have flown off their stalks into the air and flapped their leaves as if they were little wings that make them fly. Then, if they behaved well, they obtained permission to fly about during the day, instead of being obliged to sit still on their stems at home. And so in time their leaves become real wings. It may be, however, that the flowers in the botanical garden have never been to the king's palace, and therefore they know nothing of merry doings at night, which take place there. I will tell you what to do. I will tell you what to do. The botanical professor who lives close by here will be so surprised. You know him very well, do you not? Well, next time you go into his garden, you must tell one of the flowers that there is going to be a grand ball at the castle. Then that flower will tell the others, and they will fly away to the castle as soon as possible. When the professor walks into his garden, there will not be a single flower left. How he will wonder what has become of them.
But how can one flower tell another? Flowers cannot speak.
No, certainly not.
replied the student.
But they can make signs. Have you often seen that when the wind blows, they nod at one another and rustle all their green leaves?
Can the professor understand the signs?
Asked Ida.
Yes, to be sure he can. He went one morning into his garden and saw a stinging nettle making signs with its leaves to a beautiful red carnation. It was saying, "You are so pretty, I like you very much." But the professor did not approve of such nonsense, so he clapped his hands on the nettle to stop it. Then the leaves, which are its fingers, stung him so sharply that he never ventured to go touch a nettle since.
"Oh, how funny,"
said Ida, and she laughed.
How can anyone put such notions into a child's head?
Said a tiresome lawyer who had come to pay a visit and sat on the sofa. He did not like the student and grumbled when he saw him cutting out dolls or amusing pictures. Sometimes it would be a man hanging on a gibbet and holding a heart in his hand as if he had been stealing hearts. Sometimes it was an old witch riding through the air on a broom, carrying her husband on her nose. But the lawyer did not like such jokes, and he would say, as he had just said,
"How can anyone put such nonsense into a child's head? What absurd fancies they are!"
But to little Ida, all these stories which the student told her about the flowers seemed very droll, and she thought over them a great deal. The flowers did hang their heads, because they had been dancing all night, and were very tired, and most likely they were ill. Then she took them into the room where a number of toys lay on a pretty little table, and the whole of the table drawer beside was full of beautiful things. Her doll Sophie lay in the doll's bed asleep, and little Ida said to her, "You must get up. Really get up, Sophie, and be content to lie in the drawer tonight. The poor flowers are ill, and they must lie in your bed. Perhaps they will get well again." So she took the doll out, who looked quite cross, and said not a single word, for she was angry at being turned out of her bed. Ida placed the flowers in the doll's bed and drew a quilt over them. Then she told them to lie quite still and be good, while she made some tea for them, so that they might be quite well and able to get up in the next morning. As she drew the curtain close round the little bed, so the sun might not shine in their eyes, and she drew the curtain close. During the whole evening, she could not help thinking of what the student had told her. And before she went to bed herself, she was obliged to peep behind the curtains into the garden where all her mother's beautiful flowers grew, hyacinths and tulips, and many others. Then she whispered to them quietly, I know you are going to a ball tonight." But the flowers appeared as if they did not understand, and not a leaf moved. Still, Ida felt quite sure she knew all about it. She lay awake for a long time after she was in bed, thinking of how pretty it must be to see all the beautiful flowers dancing in the king's garden. "I wonder if my flowers have really been there," she said to herself, and then she fell asleep. And the night she awoke, she had been dreaming of the flowers and of the student, as well as of the tiresome lawyer who found fault with them. It was quite still in Ida's bedroom. The night lamp burnt on the table, and her father and mother were asleep. "I wonder if my flowers are still lying in Sophie's bed," she thought to herself. "How much I'd like to know." She raised herself a little and glanced at the door of the room where all her flowers and playthings lay. It was partly open, and as she listened, it seemed as if someone in the room was playing the piano, but softly and more prettily than she had ever before heard it. "Now the flowers are certainly dancing in there," she thought. "Oh, how much I'd like to see them." but she did not dare move for fear of disturbing her father and mother. If only they would come in here, she thought, but they did not come, and the music continued to play so beautifully and was so pretty that she could now resist no longer. She crept out of her little bed, went softly to the door, and looked into her room. Oh, what a splendid sight there was, to be sure! There was no night lamp burning, but the room appeared quite light, for the moon shone through the window upon the floor and made it look almost like day. All the hyacinths and tulips stood in 2 long rows down the room. Not a single flower remained in the window, and the flower pots were all empty. The flowers were dancing gracefully on the floor, making turns and holding each other by their long green leaves as they swung round. At the piano sat a large yellow lily, which Lita was sure she had seen in the summer, for she remembered the students saying she was very much like Miss Lena, one of Ida's friends. They all laughed at him then, but now it seemed to little Ida as if the tall yellow flower was really like the young lady. She had the same manners while playing, bending her long yellow face from side to side, and nodding in time to the beautiful music. Then she saw a large purple crocus jump into the middle of the table where the playthings stood, go up to the doll's bedstead, and draw back the curtains. There lay the 6 flowers, but they got up directly, and nodded to the others as a sign that they wished to dance with them. The old rough doll, with a broken mouth, stood up and bowed to the pretty flowers. They did not look ill at all now, but jumped about and were very merry, yet none of them noticed Lita. Presently it seemed as if something fell from the table. Ida looked that way, and saw a slight carnival rod jumping down among the flowers as if it belonged to them. It was, however, very smooth and neat, and a little wax doll with a broad-rimmed hat on her head, like the one worn by the lawyer, sat upon it. The carnival rod hopped about among the flowers on its 3 red stilted feet, and stamped quite loud when it danced the mazurka. The flowers could not perform this dance. They were too light to stamp in that manner. All at once the wax doll which rode on the carnival rod seemed to grow larger and larger, and it turned round and said to the paper flowers, "How can you put such things in a child's head? They are all foolish fancies." And the doll was exactly like the lawyer, with a broad-rimmed hat, and looked as yellow and cross as he did. But the paper doll struck him on his thin legs, and he shrunk up again and became quite a little wax doll. This was very amusing, when Ida could not help laughing. The carnival ride went on dancing, and the lawyer was obliged to dance also. It was no use. He might make himself great and tall, remain a little wax doll with a large black hat. Still he must dance. Then at last the other flowers interceded for him, especially those who were laying in the doll's bed, and the carnival rod gave up his dancing. At the same moment a loud knocking was heard in the drawer, where Ida's doll Sophie lay with many other toys. Then the rough doll ran to the end of the table, laid himself flat down upon it, and began to pull the drawer out a little way. Then Sophie raised herself, looked quite round and astonished. "There must be a ball here tonight," said Sophie. "Why did not someone tell me?" "Will you dance with me?" said the rough doll. "You're the right sort to dance with, certainly," she said, turning her back upon him. Then she seated herself on the edge of the drawer, and thought that perhaps one of the flowers would ask her to dance, but none of them came. Then she coughed, "Ahem, ahem, 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 ahem." But for all that, not one came. The shabby doll now danced quite alone, and not very badly after all. As none of the flowers seemed to notice Sophie, she let herself down from the drawer to the floor, so as to make a very great noise. All the flowers came round her directly, and asked if she had hurt herself, especially those who had lain in her bed. But she was not hurt at all, and Ida's flowers thanked her for the use of the nice bed, and were very kind to her. They led her into the middle of the room, where the moon shone, and danced with her, while all the other flowers formed a circle round them. Then Sophie was very happy, and said they might keep her bed. But she did not mind lying in the drawer after all. But the flowers thanked her very much, and said, "We cannot live long. Tomorrow morning you shall be quite dead, and you must tell little Ida to bury us in the garden near the grave of the I'm getting too excited. Let me take a drink and pause. "And you must tell little Ida to bury us in the garden near the grave of the canary. Then in the summer we shall wake up and be more beautiful than ever." "No, you must not die," said Sophie, as she kissed the flowers. Then the door of the room opened, and a number of beautiful flowers danced in. Ida could not imagine where they could come from, unless they were the flowers from the king's garden. First came 2 lovely roses with little crowns on their heads. These were the king and queen. Beautiful stalks and carnations followed, bowing to everyone present. They also had music with them. Large poppies and peonies had peach shells for instruments, and blew into them until they were quite red in the face. The bunches of blue hyacinths and little white snowdrops jingled their bell-like flowers, as if they were real bells. Then came many more flowers, beautiful violets, purple heartsease, daisies, and lilies of the valley, and they all danced together and kissed each other. It was a very beautiful sight to behold. At last the flowers wished each other good night. Then Lolita crept back into her bed again, and dreamed all she had seen. When she arose the next morning, she went quickly to the little table to see if the flowers were still there. She drew aside the curtains of the little bed. There they all lay, but quite faded, much more so than the day before. Sophie was lying in the drawer where Ida had placed her, but she looked so very sleepy. Do you remember what the flowers told me to tell you to say? But Sophie looked quite stupid, and said not a single word. You were not kind at all, said Lolita, and they all danced with you. Then she took a little paper box, on which were painted beautiful birds, and laid the dead flowers in it. This shall be your pretty coffin, said she, and by, when my cousins come to visit me, they shall help me bury you out in the garden, so next summer you may grow up more beautiful than ever. Her cousins were two good-tempered boys, whose names were James and Adolphus. Their father had given them each a bow and arrow, and they had brought them to show Ida. She told them about the poor flowers which were dead, and as soon as they obtained permission, they went with her to bury them. The two boys walked first, with their crossbows on their shoulders, and little Ida followed them, carrying the pretty box containing the dead flowers. They dug a little grave in the garden. Ida kissed her flowers, and then laid them, with the box, in the earth. James and Adolphus then fired their crossbows over the grave, as they had neither guns nor cannons. The end. The end. The end. Ahem? Yes, ahem. Ahem. Flower dance party? Also yes. Also yes. That was so cute. It was. It was very cute. It was a cute imagining of ways that flowers are... It was different imagining of how flowers' lives were, I suppose. It was very cute. Very, very cute. Very, very cute. Yes, very much cute indeed. Indeed, indeed, indeed. We'll take another drink. I just spilled water everywhere. Not very much water. I shouldn't say everywhere, I just spilled a little bit of water. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Okay. Okay. I think I'm done reading stories for now. The stream isn't ending yet, but I think I am done reading stories for now. Unless I can find a very short story. Let me see. Let me see what stories I have left. Try to remember. That one's long. I might actually be able to read this. Can I think of it? I might be able to read this. Okay, let me turn the thing back on. And then it'll definitely be the last story. For sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. For sure, for sure. So, I think this is what it is. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I believe, the Emperor's New Suit is the story about the Emperor who ended up wearing the finest clothes that only the noblest of people can see. Basically, he was wearing nothing. I'm pretty sure it's that story. Like, reasonably sure it's that story. But, don't quote me on it. But I'm like 95% sure this is the right story. Yes, indeed. Indeed, this story. The memes are real. The memes are real. The memes are real. This is the next story and final story I will be reading to you guys. Because it's actually a quite short story. Okay. You guys ready for some memes before bed? You guys ready? Yes? Okay. The Emperor's new suit. Many, many years ago lived an emperor who thought so much of new clothes that he spent all his money in order to obtain them. His only ambition was to be well dressed. He did not care for his soldiers, and the theater did not amuse him. The only thing, in fact, he thought of was to drive out and show a new suit of clothes. He had a coat for every hour of the day, and as one would say of a king, he is in his cabinet, so one could say to him, the emperor is in his dressing room. The great city where he resided in was very happy. Every day many strangers from all parts of the globe arrived. One day 2 swindlers came to the city. They made people believe that they were weavers and declared that they could manufacture the finest cloth to be imagined. Their colors and patterns, they said, were not only exceptionally beautiful, but the clothes made of their material possessed the most wonderful quality of being invisible to any man who was unfit for his office or unpardonably stupid.
This must be a wonderful cloth,
thought the emperor.
If I were to be dressed in a suit made of this cloth, I should be able to find out which men in my empire were unfit for their places. I could distinguish the clever from the stupid. I must have this cloth woven for me without delay.
And he gave a large sum of money to the swindlers in advance. They should set to work without any loss of time. They set up 2 looms and pretended to be very hard at work, but they did nothing whatever on the looms. They asked for the finest silk and the most precious gold cloth. All they got, they did away with, and worked at the empty looms till late in the night.
I should very much like to know how they are getting on with the cloth,
thought the emperor, but he felt rather uneasy when he remembered that he who was not fit for his office could not see it. Personally, he was of opinion that he had nothing to fear. He thought it was advisable to send someone else first to see how matters stood. Everybody in the town knew what a remarkable quality the stuff possessed, and all were anxious to see how bad or stupid their neighbors were.
I shall send my honest old minister to the weavers,
thought the emperor.
He can judge best how the stuff works, for he is intelligent and no one understands his office better than he.
The good old minister went to the room where the good old minister went into the room where the swindlers sat before the empty looms.
Heavens preserve us,
he thought, and opened his eyes wide.
I cannot see anything at all.
Sorry, let me redo that.
Heavens preserve us,
he thought, and opened his eyes wide.
I cannot see anything at all.
But he did not say so. Both swindlers requested him to come near, and asked him if he did not admire the exquisite pattern and beautiful colors, pointing to the empty looms. The poor minister tried his best, but he could see nothing. For there was nothing to be seen.
Oh dear,
he thought.
Can I be so stupid? I have never thought so, and nobody must know it. Is it possible that I am not fit for my office? No, I cannot say that I was unable to see the cloth. Now, we got nothing to say?
Said one of the swindlers, while he pretended to be very busy weaving.
Oh, it is indeed very pretty, exceedingly beautiful,
replied the old minister, looking through his glasses.
What a beautiful pattern, what beautiful clothers. I shall tell the emperor that I like the cloth very much. We are pleased to hear that,
said the 2 weavers, and described to him the colors and explained the curious pattern. The old minister listened attentively, that he might relate to the emperor what they said, and so he did. Now the swindlers asked for more money, silk and gold cloth, which they required for weaving. They kept everything for themselves, and not a thread came near the loom, but they continued, as hitherto, to work at the empty looms. Soon afterwards, the emperor sent another honest courtier to the weavers to see how they were getting on, and if the cloth was nearly finished. Like the old minister, he looked and looked, but could see nothing, as there was nothing to be seen.
Is this not a beautiful piece of cloth?
Asked one of the 2 weavers, showing and explaining the magnificent pattern, which, however, did not exist.
I am not a stupid man,
said the man. I'm not stupid, said the man.
Therefore, my good appointment for which I am not fit. It is very strange, but I must not let anyone know it.
And he praised the cloth, which he did not see, and expressed his joy at the beautiful colors and the fine pattern.
It is very excellent,
he said to the emperor. Everybody in the whole town talked about the precious cloth. At last the emperor wished to see it himself whilst it was still in the loom. With a number of courtiers, including the 2 who had already been there, he went to the clever Swineherders, who now worked as hard as they could without using any thread.
Is it not magnificent?
Said the 2 old statesmen who had been there before.
Your Majesty must admire the colors and patterns.
And they pointed to the empty looms, for they imagined the others could see the cloths.
What is this?
Thought the Emperor.
I do not see anything at all. That is terrible. Am I stupid? Am I unfit to be Emperor? That would indeed be the most dreadful thing that could happen to me. Really,
He said, turning to the 2 weavers.
your cloth has our most gracious approval.
And nodding contentedly, he looked at the empty loom, for he did not like to say that he saw nothing. All his attendants, who were with him, looked and looked, and although they could not see anything more than the others, they, like the Emperor, said, "It is very beautiful." And all advised him to wear the magnificent clothes at a great procession, which was soon to take place. It is very magnificent, beautiful, excellent. One heard him say. Everybody seemed to be delighted, and the Emperor appointed the 2 swindlers, imperial court weavers. The whole night previous to the day on which the procession was to take place, the swindlers pretended to work, and burned more than 16 candles. People should see that they were busy to finish the Emperor's new suit. They pretended to take the cloth from the loom, and worked about in the air with big scissors, and sewed needles without thread, and said at last, "The Emperor's new suit is ready now." The Emperor and all his barons then came to the hall. The swindlers held out their arms, as if they were holding something in their hands, and said, "These are the trousers, this is the coat, and here's the cloak," and so on. They are all as light as a cobweb, and one must feel as if one had nothing at all upon the body, for that is just the beauty of them. "Indeed," said the courtiers, but they could not see anything, for there was nothing to be seen.
Does it please your Majesty now to graciously undress?
Said the swindlers.
That you might assist your Majesty in putting on the new suit before the large looking-glass.
The Emperor undressed, and the swindlers pretended to put this new suit upon him, one piece after another, and the Emperor looked at himself in the glass from every side. "How well they look! How well they fit!" said all. "What a beautiful pattern! What fine colors! That is a magnificent suit of clothes." The master of the ceremonies announced that the bearers of the canopy, which was to be carried in procession, was ready.
I am ready,
Said the Emperor.
Does my suit not fit me marvelously?
Then he turned once more to the looking-glass, that people should think he admired his garments. The chamberlains were to carry the train, stretched their hands to the ground as if they lifted up a train, and pretended to hold something in their hands. They did not like people to know they could not see anything. The Emperor marched in the procession under the beautiful canopy, and all who saw him in the street and out of the windows exclaimed, "Indeed, the Emperor's new suit is incomparable! What a long train he has! How well it fits him!" Nobody wished to let others know he saw nothing, for then he would have been unfit for his office or too stupid. Never Emperor's clothes were more admired. But he had nothing at all, said a little child at last.
Good heavens, listen to the voice of an innocent child,
said the father, and one whispered to another, the other what the child had said. But he has nothing at all, cried the whole people at last. That made a deep impression upon the Emperor, for it seemed to him as though they were right, but he thought to himself,
now I must bear it up to the end.
And the chamberlains walked with still greater dignity, as if they carried the train, which did not exist. The end. The end. Rip. 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 Poor guy's just walking along the street naked in his procession. No one wants to admit that he is naked until one kid finally said it. Nothing to see there, literally. Literally nothing to see there. Literally nothing. So why? Because no one wants to admit that they are potentially stupid. And I mean, to be fair, in times like these, if you say to the Emperor that his suit looks terrible, then you could get your head cut off or something. Naked as the day he was born? Indeed. Indeed. He might have been wearing some slippers. Maybe he was wearing some slippers. Let's give him credit for that. He may have been wearing some slippers and a crown. Something like that. So let's give him a little credit. He might have had a tiny bit of clothes. Lot to see, but definitely not clothes. None wants to admit they're pleb. Both correct. both correct. It's such a famous story. It's such a famous story. It's so funny. It's a good story of hilarity and covering the feet. Yeah, I mean, at least he was wearing shoes, possibly. Unless he was going barefoot, because maybe emperors don't wear shoes. But I doubt it. I doubt it. So maybe he was at least wearing slippers or something. Good stories tonight? I'm glad you enjoyed them. I'm glad you enjoyed them. If the stories had been even shorter than they already had been, I still have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I still have 9 extra stories. But we've only got a few minutes left as planned from what I'd missed. From what my internet had made me miss. Last Monday and Tuesday. It's one of your favorite stories from your childhood? One of the few you remember? It is really hard to forget. It is such an unforgettable story. Because I mean, it's so unique. It's so unique. All the stories are usually about, like, deep morals, or sad endings, or wholesomeness, or something like that. But not in this case. Not in this case. This is just kind of pure memes, and the sort of silliness of adults, I suppose. Because the older you get, the harder it is to let go of your pride, I suppose. Let's save them for the next story time? Of course! That is exactly what I planned on doing. That is exactly what I planned on doing. But good suggestion. If I had not thought of that myself, then that would have been great. But yes, I have kept the notes for, hopefully, I mean, I'd rather that we don't have to ever worry about makeup streams. And hope that all my streams will be perfectly good internet, etc., etc. But the likelihood of that happening is very, very small. So we shall see. We shall see. Sorry with the hiccup. But yes. Indeed, I will hold on to it. You hope my PC behaves better? Yeah, me too. I think my internet will get better probably within the next week. I have a feeling it will get better within the next week. But that doesn't mean it'll always go well. However, I have faith that at least as far as the connection goes, it should be more stable from here on out. However, I can't guarantee that my PC will behave. So if in moments where like my PC overheats, or the game is too heavy, then like heavy as in like too much information, like how it was when I played retail that one time, and the stream crashed trying to load the game while I was trying to update the stream title. I still won't be able to prevent that, unfortunately, because that's going to require me to at least probably get an entirely new graphics card. But if not, just an entirely new PC, and I cannot afford a new PC. However, the rest of stuff should be okay. Fingers crossed. Usually seems to happen near the beginning of the week. Yes. Usually seems to happen on Mondays. Although for some reason Tuesday was a bad day as well. I think Monday was general internet provider hijinks. But I think Tuesday was a really bad storm. I believe Tuesday there was a really bad storm going on because it was really windy outside. So I think the wind was really interfering with the connection. You're hoping for the best. It'd be nice if it does get better indeed. I'm hoping it will. I can't guarantee anything because I'm not my internet provider, nor am I my PC, so I can't force my PC to be great. And I can't force my internet providers to be better. But I do hope that things will get better. That is my most sincere hope. True? Yes, very true. Very true. Very true. I hope so. Obviously, I know at least one of you said the good stories were good tonight. I'm hoping that you guys liked stories both from last night and from tonight. I know, not last night, yesterday night. I know yesterday's stories were a lot more sad. So, at least in this case, the stories today were much more lighthearted. And he's usually lighthearted. So there is that sort of benefit. Because it's hard to like sad stories. Your GDKP for AQ40 went well today, and you got some wonderful stories. Sounds like something for you to tell yourself later, huh? I'm hoping that you at least got a decent amount of gold from your AQ40. I'm hoping that you made plenty of money off of it. Because GDKPs are definitely the best way to make money in Release Classic. Definitely aware, all of them. You like the sad stories as well? I'm glad. I actually really like sad stories, but I know that they're far more uncommonly liked. I know people have a much harder time liking them. So, while I enjoyed them, I know that not everyone may have. You got 1k gold from the GDKP? That's great. I am very glad to hear that. That is literally double. Not double, it's not double my money. But it's definitely more money than I have in that one single one. It's like an extra 200 gold more than I have from that one single one. If I wasn't so busy usually, then I'd probably go to GDKPs myself. But alas. The stories were nice in their own way, of course. The stories are all written very wonderfully, so it's hard not to like them. It's really hard not to like them. But yeah, I know that most people like happy endings. Or just generally happy everythings. So it's sort of as weird as that sounds. Anyways, I am going to sign off for the night. I hope that you guys are nice and relaxed now and have had a wonderful day, a wonderful night now. I hope that you guys can all sleep very well or have a good evening and are feeling calm and happy because I am very relaxed too. I've had a good time. I'm hoping you guys have had a good time in general. Will rest my throat? Of course. Actually, my throat is doing quite well right now. My throat is doing okay. It's probably, I think if I went for an extra hour, I'd really start to struggle. But right now, I'm doing okay. Thank you for the story time? Of course. Anything to make it up to you guys. Well, not anything. I shouldn't say that. But I'm glad I can make it up to you guys. Thank you for the fun stories and dream. Of course. You had a wonderful time. Thanks again. I'm the best. Thank you. I'm not the best. I am far from the best. But I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna go now. Goodbye, guys. Goodbye. Farewell. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. Sleep well. Bye, guys.